Look, fellas, I'm not I'm not going to let this happen to me. I am going to. I have learned with experience of being a fan, and now that I'm 40 years old, with experience of being a fan, I have learned not to allow things to get me going. And I'm not going to allow that offensive performance on Monday night and to see what the impact that DeAndre Hopkins had. I am not going to allow that to get me going. My biggest point of reference is in 2004, coming off the no punt game when the Chiefs lost to the Colts in the playoffs, 13-3 down the drain again. They went and made some moves. Who did they add? They added Kendrell Bell. They added Sean Barber. Shout out to Sean Barber. I always got the best of him whenever we were on the air together, and he knows it. Um, but they
Line
made
Judge 79. Line Judge 79.
Yeah, I got him. I got the best of him. They added a corner, whatever. They had a preseason game. It was the game where the starters played into the second quarter, the whole half. And they were playing the Rams. And that was Kurt Warner and all of them when they were, high powered. And they went and shut them down in a preseason first half. Sure, it was vanilla, but they shut them down. I believe they got picks. They were all over the place, this defense. And I was like, oh my God, going to the Super Bowl with this defense. Got that offense. No, they got in that season and they sucked. Not as bad as 03, but they suck. But but I'm telling you, I will forever be cautious and not be tricked. Now, they're getting close to tricking me because listen, that thing Monday night with DeAndre Hopkins, it feels and looks like a game changer. I am about 2 weeks away, fellas, from accepting that this is a game changer thing. And for me, in particular, the game is changed, BK, with two spots. And I knew it. We talked about it when he got here, but to really see it, like, yes, the throw down in the middle of the field where Mahomes is off balance and there are three guys in there, and then Hopkins is in the middle and he says, hell with it, I'm going to throw it up. And D-Hop just comes on down with it. That was sexy. That was nice. A little throw to the side and in OT where, Serda, who said DeAndre Hopkins can't run out to the catch anymore. He got a little spin move on the young man and gave him a little shimmy and got 15 yards up.
Yeah,
that's what you said.
Doesn't offer a
that's
ton.
What you said. That's what you said. You said he doesn't offer a ton. Shut up while I'm in my soliloquy. You said he doesn't offer a ton, and then you gave a statistic that he is like 1 yard in yards after the catch. So you were wrong. Take it. But it's not even that stuff. It's the red zone. It's the red zone, and it's third down. And you could really see how the game becomes easy and the pick your poison between 8 and 87 in those areas. And the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, it's some crazy number on third down. I don't think he had an incompletion. Maybe he had one on third down. And the red zone from a passing perspective looked the easiest it's ever been, maybe since Patrick Mahomes and Andy have been here together, when they just had these smallish guys running around trying to get open. I'm telling you, that was a clear game changer. Third down and the red zone. And that, to me, is where this thing could get really interesting.
Patrick Mahomes was 11 of 13 for 126 yards and 3 touchdowns with 10 first downs on third down, specifically against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 11 of 13, 10 first downs throwing the ball. And Ron, this is now a 2-week stretch where we have seen him just go like full Tom Brady mode. I don't know how you guys felt when you would watch the Chiefs against the Patriots back in the day, but I always felt like the Chiefs would get to third down and he'd be like, all right, we did it. We found a way. Just get one stop here. You're good to go. And it felt inevitable that Brady was going to convert that third down. It could be 3rd and 8. It could be 3rd and 1. He was going to find a way. And earlier this season, it did not feel that way with Patrick Mahomes. For much of his career, it has. You think about most of the big highlights that you can remember from Patrick Mahomes, it's 3rd and 4th down for the most part, where you can remember those plays, because that's where he turns on the let's make a play, let's create mode, right? Well, Mahomes on 3rd downs over the first 6 weeks of the season completed 25 passes out of the 45 attempts. They went for 19 first downs. That's a 42% conversion rate in terms of the attempts, first downs. On 3rd down over the past 2 weeks, 20 of 24, 20 first downs, a conversion rate of 83% when he throws the football. 19 first downs when he throws over the first 6 weeks combined, 20 first downs when he throws on 3rd down over the last 2 weeks. This is a different version of Patrick Mahomes, dude. We're seeing it for 2 reasons in particular. One, you're 100% correct. DeAndre Hopkins changes everything about this offense. I think we all underestimated just how much DeAndre Hopkins had left in the tank. 2, dude, can we talk about Travis Kelce for a second? He looked amazing in that game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's the best version of Kelce we've seen since the playoffs. He looked like that version again, and I don't know where this has come from, but over the last 2 weeks.
But fellas, though, and BK and Serda, you watched it, like and I think this is to Hop too. Is it crazy how much more space it appears that he has?
100%.
Around him. Like we didn't see like the Andy scheme up plays where he's alone and he's just like, you're like, how the hell's 87 get wide open by himself? The amount of space that he has now in the field, and the only thing that has changed is Hopkins.
It's probably twofold, right? Like, I think some of it is definitely Hopkins. I think some of it is Mahomes is just playing better too. Like, I think he's trusting his offensive line so much more right now than we saw early in the season. And I don't know if they're playing significantly better, but he's just trusting them more, and he's staying in the pocket, and he's climbing up within the pocket. And I think that's where you see him and Kelce really be able to connect. Like, it was across the middle and it was intermediate. And that's the area of the field that Mahomes was not targeting earlier in the season. 10 plus yards down the field. Let's push the ball down the field. Let's get it to Hopkins. Let's get it to Kelce. Let's get it to some of my receivers. It looks like a totally different version of the Chiefs offense. And I'm with you, Ron. I didn't expect to be here today, but over the past 2 weeks, I feel like we have seen this offense evolve in a way where I now think you could have the 2022 Chiefs offense, which was elite. People don't think about it that way. They were first in the league in scoring that year. That was the Juju MVS season where they just went bonkers and then ended up winning the Super Bowl against the Eagles. I think you could have.
Oh, no, I got to stop you. Now, you can't call that the Juju and MVS.
Kelce happened to be there too.
There's got to be somebody else that climbs before MVS when you start talking about the weapons.
It's the way that we can remember that one versus the others. Kelce's been here all along. That's what made that year different, is you got the one decent year out of MVS.
And the Kadarius Toney season.
Yeah.
I would take that. I would take that.
The other part of this is you're pairing that with an elite level defense, Ron, because that year, if you remember, they were middle of the pack defensively. That was at the start of what we have now seen to be a very good defense. The last 2 years, you've had an elite level defense. So a potentially elite offense with an elite defense. It's the first time we've seen that in Mahomes' career. Like, this has the potential. Ron, you've been talking undefeated. What could this be? But I'm not there yet. Give me 2 more weeks and I'm ready to talk about it. I want to see them against Denver this week, and then I really want to see them against Buffalo a week from now. It's got me excited. I'm officially jumping on board, but I need 2 weeks.
Yeah. This offense is legitimately exciting now. And I do think there's something to, maybe Patrick Mahomes finally like the light flip, or the light switch flipped or something in him, where he was like, okay, all these injuries are piling up. I just took out my number 1 wide receiver on a fluke play. Like, I have to play better. I have to carry us now. And I have to go out there and just play and stop like overanalyzing everything and making bad decisions on the field, or overcompensating for the pressure that I'm under. Like, I need to just go out there and be myself and go make plays. And I think he has certainly done that. But what we've seen over the last 2 weeks with DeAndre Hopkins, and this is in such a small sample size that it's unbelievable that it's like happening already, is that Hopkins is such a smart football player, and it feels like the Chiefs haven't had that outside of Travis Kelce in a while. Like, I'm not taking shots at the players that they have, but like there's something to be said for a player that just understands the game. And we're not just talking about like physical tools and what they can do athletically. Like DeAndre Hopkins simply understands football. Like, he can read defenses. He can have that kind of unspoken communication that Travis Kelce has with Patrick Mahomes, because Mahomes sees the same things that Hopkins is out there seeing. Mahomes sees the same things that Travis Kelce is out there seeing. But then we've seen over the last couple of years, the Chiefs just have had players who can't get on the same page because they're not seeing the same things. They're not identifying the things that Patrick Mahomes is identifying when he throws the football. And Hopkins in 2 games has already done that. Like, we've literally already seen it on his second touchdown catch. Like, that was a check at the line of scrimmage where Mahomes saw it. Hopkins said, "I got you." And he got him the football. Like, the Chiefs haven't had that outside of Travis Kelce in years now. And that's why I'm so excited about DeAndre Hopkins, because he's the type of player that can do that. And that even if he doesn't have the physical tool set anymore in his older age, his IQ is still off the charts. And that's going to lead to success for the Chiefs offense.
Let me tell you where the game has changed, in my opinion, on this. And it is the addition, I think, of Hopkins. And I said, like, the big thing right off the bat was red zone and third down. And of course, BK will back it up with the stats. I don't have them. I don't look to try to get them. That's why BK's there to back it up. But I just know what I saw. They got a whole lot of them. All right. And I know
more over the last 2 weeks than the first 2 weeks combined. Boom.
Yeah.
Over the last 6. You get it.
And I know Hopkins got in the end zone twice, and I know they were getting first downs, and Kareem Hunt got in the end zone, and I know P. Ryan got in the end zone. The game has changed. See, the last 2 years, like this season, the half of this season and last year, the Chiefs played in a ton of close games, and it's like their thing, right? Like it's. I heard Colin Cowherd say earlier this week the Chiefs remind him of Jason Bourne movies, that they are just. They're always staring death in the face, and then they find some new way all the time to get out of it. And that's what the Chiefs have been. But a big hidden reason to that, because it's like they've had a great defense, and they've got Patrick Mahomes and all that. But the big problem is they weren't great in the red zone in terms of scoring touchdowns, and they weren't as good on third down as they could be. With the addition of Hopkins, it is so much of a pick your poison, especially when they line him and 87 up on the same side, and you're trying to figure out what to do. There's so much space in there, and there's so like that slant route was so easy in the end zone that the guy was scared he was going to run a fade, and that he was right there inside, and he's a big body with great hands that you can put it up. But the reason why it's a game changer to me is because these games have been close because Harrison Butker, go look how many times Harrison Butker kicked more than 3 field goals. And I can remember in my mind down the stretch, he kicked 5 against the Bengals. He had to kick a bunch. He had kicked several in the playoffs. The Niners, he came out there multiple times. You can remember a lot of the thing, and we talked about it last year. Hey, just get points because the race is to get to 21. If you get to 21, odds are the Chiefs don't give up 21 points to teams, right? They still haven't given up 30 since the Eagles Super Bowl. Like that was the race. Those threes are going to start being 6s, and we're already seeing it. And instead of the game being 21-17, or the game being 17-10, or the game being 20-17, there are going to be some 6s up there. And that is going to stretch the game out. And the scariest thing right now for teams is those things, because they're becoming efficient. If you look at it since the Niner game, they are becoming efficient in the red zone with touchdowns. They got 4 touchdowns against the Niners. They got 2 or 3 against the Raiders. Like this week, they got touchdowns. They start getting touchdowns, and we see it. They pick up 30 in this game, right? They start getting touchdowns. They're up above like this thing not being close games. And the scariest thing is the Chiefs have this ability to just go off when they want to and run 6 to 8 minute drives to just squeeze the life out of the game. And next thing you know, you look up, there ain't no time, and you got to throw against that defense and that pass rush. Now we'll figure that out. But that pass rush and that plays right in their hands. That's, to me, the biggest difference is we're going to start to see more touchdowns than Harrison Butker field goals. And that changes the game and makes scores 28-10 as opposed to 16-10 and keeps games close.
The other thing, Ron, something that's been keeping points off of the board for the Chiefs this year is turnovers. And specifically Patrick Mahomes' interceptions, and bad ones for the vast majority of the year. He had thrown an interception in every single game so far this season until this week. This week, he didn't throw one. And you could feel that during the game. He felt more in control. He felt like he was just comfortable with everything that happened around him. And some of that is going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. We talked about that going in. The Bucs will let you do whatever you want to do against them. That's not a great defense. They don't have enough talent this year. They're just not the same unit that they've been in the past. So some of that has to be credited to the fact that over the last 2 weeks, you've played against two really bad defenses. But a lot of it is also credit to DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and this offensive line and everything working in tandem. And I think a big part of this, Ron, is just Mahomes is seemingly getting more comfortable in the creative areas of the game where he can trust multiple players on the field now. I think we've always seen him at his best when he has multiple weapons that he trusts, whether that's Juju and Kelce or Tyreek and Kelce. And I think over the last couple of years, he hasn't necessarily had that at any point in time where he has, except for Rasheed. By the end of the year last year, he finally had Rasheed that emerged as the other weapon alongside Travis Kelce. There have been too many games, though, that he's played where it's one guy. And so if you're the defense and he starts getting into that creation mode, find 87, find 87, find 87. Because if you find him, he's not throwing it to anybody else. And if he does, he doesn't trust them and it ends up getting him into trouble. You can now say find 87 and find number 8. And if you have to find both of them when he gets into creative mode, good luck. Like it's just not an easy thing to be able to handle as a defense. There's not enough players on the field, honestly. You saw it with that DeAndre Hopkins deep pass, dude. That's just go up and get it, man. I trust you. I believe in you. That is a throw that we have not seen Patrick Mahomes make since they had Tyreek.
And now we're going to see if that happened on the first one. The first, hey, I'm putting the ball in harm's way, and he just went up there and got it between three guys. He might start feeling real confident on doing that. Damn sure putting it up on fades with one guy. So, no, I'm with you on that.
This is a different feeling than I've had about the Chiefs offense in a really long time, man. Like, I don't think I felt this at any point until the postseason last year with the Chiefs offense. There was no mirage during the regular season. It was just, this isn't good enough. They're going to have to figure it out with the field goals.
I never felt that way last year. No boy, not the Niners, I never felt that way last year. I said, hey, get to 21, however, come here, hook or crook, safeties. If you got to put together 9 safeties, just get to whatever, however you get there. Hey, real quick, I do want to, before we move on to this game, the Chiefs didn't make another move at the deadline for a corner. And listen, I'm telling you right now, I don't trust 30. And listen, Roland Wallace, Roland Williams, Roland something. He's an undrafted, rookie free agent. That's not a guy that you expect to do a ton. And I don't trust 13 when he gets back. Hopefully he does get back to at least have him. And I'm absolutely done with Joshua Williams. I'm done with him. He not only gets a penalty every week, he routinely doesn't seem to know where he is or what he's supposed to be doing. I don't know if you remember, but the first touchdown drive for the Buccaneers, there was a 3rd down and long that should have been held to a field goal, and you could tell Brian Cook knew that Brian Cook was supposed to be the one running with the tight end, and Joshua Williams was supposed to have the receiver to the outside. And Joshua Williams, for some odd reason, just carried the tight end and kept running with him and became an easy 3rd down pickup on a blitz. that everybody did what they were supposed to do. And thank God Brian Cook looked and ran the other way and didn't just but he got up and went off on Josh Williams. I'm done with him. They didn't make a move. Now, there's still some guys on the streets, Xavier Howard, Steven Nelson, that they could make some moves on. But you all all right with the decision they made to stay right now at the cornerback spot?
It's frustrating. I think some of it might have to do with, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Jalen Watson tweeted out earlier this week. Somebody said Jalen Watson out for the year, blah, blah, blah. He said, who said I'm out for the year? We'll see on that. Players are always incredibly optimistic about their timelines. We saw before the season, Chiefs defensive end. Why am I blanking on his name?
Herring, Charles
Omenihu. There we go. Omenihu said that he was going to be back for game 1, and it's week 9, buddy. We still haven't seen him out there. So who knows? Who knows if he's going to be able to be back or not? But maybe that's something that's influencing this a bit. It's just the optimism that he could potentially return at some point this year. I think some of this is they must feel more confident in Najee Johnson than I do personally. I haven't loved what we've seen from Najee, but I'm with you, Ron. I was really disappointed by what we saw this week from Joshua Williams. This was a huge opportunity for him. He had to come out and make a statement. And it's not as if he went up against the biggest and best wide receivers in the NFL going up against this version of the Buccaneers team. And he just looked lost.
All the time.
He looked like he didn't know what they were getting ready to do defensively. And that speaks to why they prefer going with some of their other guys out there. Like, they just trust Najee Johnson to know where he needs to be. And for this defense, with what they have at safety, this pass rush that's now starting to come together, dude, that's half the battle. Is just know where you need to be, understand what we're trying to accomplish with this unit. And if you do that and you're in position to succeed, you can live with him potentially getting beat. But this week, it was just play after play. Joshua Williams seemed to be in the wrong spot at the wrong time. I don't love what they decided to do. It's also hard for me to come up with the obvious target that they could have had. It's basically Marshawn Lattimore or bust, and it comes down to, were you willing to give up that Titans third-round pick to be able to get him? It's a huge asset to give up for potentially 2 months of a player.
Hell, they gave up a third, fourth, and a sixth.
Yeah, the Chiefs could have beat that with the Titans third-round pick because it's so much higher than what the Washington Commanders are going to have, but
they got a 3 and a 4.
But the Titans might pick top 5 in the third round. Yeah. That's why the pick is so valuable.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't. I think they like Najee Johnson. I think that they think Spags can get more out of that group and that they can figure it out. But it's certainly concerning when the Bucs are missing their top 3 wide receivers and still pretty easily go on a game-tying touchdown drive late in the fourth quarter, where the entire game plan is target everyone that's not Trent McDuffie.
And the Raiders receivers got open and got separation multiple times against that crew too. So that's the big thing to me is the last 2 weeks you weren't facing great receivers, and that was going to be the thing. And I guess, as you said, boy, they feel good about it. All right. We do this every week when the Chiefs get the ball and have the ball. This is my thing, fellas, and maybe I'm getting too much, too amped up a bit. But like I'm looking at this game, and the Broncos are somehow 5-4, and I felt it in my heart of hearts they were going to get the doors blown off of them by the Baltimore Ravens, and they certainly did. And they feel like, you remember a couple of years ago, you were all talking about how fraudulent the Vikings were. Like, well, this feels like a fraudulent 5-4 team. When they've gone up against decent quarterbacks, these guys have just absolutely, like, Herbert lit them up, Lamar lit them up. I look at this, and again, I feel like this is more about the Chiefs. I look at this, and it's hard for me to see. Now, listen, they sacked the quarterback. They are second in the league in that, so that is something to watch. But I look at this and is this the type of defense that really is going to stop them if they is this something that you should be worried about, concerned about the Broncos defense? I know it's the strength of their team, but I'm finding it hard to look at this and be like, yeah, especially watching. I'll admit I watched a lot of that Ravens game, and they just really did whatever the hell they wanted to do. It just feels like to me, is there even anything to worry about with this Broncos defense?
It's interesting because like I think in big games, it's about the best players, right? You look at the postseason, look at what the Chiefs have done over recent seasons, look at what they've done defensively. It's Chris Jones that's making the plays in money time. He's the one that's coming up. He's just dominating on an individual drive, or it's a third down. This is the game. Chris Jones is the one that's got the pressure. You've got Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed coming up with a big play on Zay Flowers near the goal line last year. Like those guys, the dudes, are the ones that are making the plays. Look at this Broncos defense. To your point, Ron, it's one dude. It's Pat Surtain. And that guy is amazing. He might legitimately be the best cornerback in the NFL this year. And I do not say that as a slight to Trent McDuffie. Pat Surtain is amazing with what he's doing right now. Outside of that, I don't think they have a single household name on their defense. Like a casual NFL fan, they don't have anybody else that any of your casual fans in your life would have ever heard of previously. And for good reason. They're just not a bunch of great players. But as a unit, they've come together and been very good this season. So for me, Ron, I look at it and say, when you have this kind of a unit, it's not something that scares me against Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce. I believe they will be able to find the open spots. I am fascinated to see, though, what they do with Pat Surtain. How do they deploy him? Do they put him on DeAndre Hopkins? Do they try to do what some teams have done in the past where they put him on Travis Kelce when he's lined up in the slot? I don't know, but that to me is the element of this game that I find to be most fascinating. Other than that, it's just a really solid unit. The Chiefs should be able to do their thing against them, though.
Yeah, I think the Broncos do seem to have like a good collection of pieces on defense that just fit together well, and so you get good performances out of them.
They feel like the Bengals. Just you can't
from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and not these Bengals. Yeah,
but against the Ravens, Pat Surtain, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, they just straight up chose not to have him shadow Zay Flowers. Maybe that's maybe they didn't respect the Ravens pass catchers and they thought we have the personnel to cover Zay Flowers, but Zay Flowers absolutely torched them in that game. And then Lamar was also just playing out of his mind. And then Derrick Henry just comes in and closes things out. I think the Broncos defense is good, and maybe there's something to be said about this is an AFC West matchup. We've seen the Broncos over the past few years, even when they're bad, just give the Chiefs some problems. So I think there's something to all of that, but at the end of the day, this is not a good Broncos team. They were obviously record-wise a fraudulent football team. And so the Chiefs should find success. Maybe it's not going to be a total decimation like it was against the Baltimore Ravens, but the Chiefs should not go out there and struggle to put up points against this Broncos defense.
I don't know. I mean, they've got some, like I said, they've got a collection of guys. Benito, Cooper, they both have more than 5 sacks, but they should be able to, because they can't stop everybody. They can't stop it. But I will say this though. Like I said, it's hard for me to look at this defense and be, greatly concerned about what the Chiefs can do. This doesn't feel like other games you're playing where it's more about the matchup and what they can do, like the Bengals with Trey Hendrickson or something like that. But last week for me, going into the game, I was really watching to see, what DeAndre Hopkins looks like from week 1 against the Raiders to a full week. That was what my focus was on. Mine now is on Xavier Worthy. That I don't know what's going on there. It's becoming very frustrating. Because there are plays clearly to be had with Xavier Worthy down the field in one way or another, whether it's him not having his feet together or knowing where he is on the field and casually backing up and catching that ball and getting out of bounds, or it's Mahomes, where we've seen this often, just flat missing. They just don't connect. Whether, I know, BK, you said before, maybe Worthy slowed up on these balls or Pat just completely missed him. But there are, I mean, that kid had no catches, no yards, and a negative 10-yard run. That was what he brought to the table. And I could clearly see there were moments where he was open, and clearly the one in the first quarter, He was wide ass open, butt naked open. It should have been a long touchdown pass, and Mahomes should have had 4 in that game, but they couldn't connect. And now when you see what happened with DeAndre Hopkins, and now he does what he did, and so now that's just going to kind of alert coordinators even more to focus on that. With Kelce, he should have even more space and even have more or less attention on him to have the ability to make big plays. And that's, to me, the deal. Is when does Xavier Worthy start to add to this team and become a big part of this team? Him to have a negative 10 yards against the Tampa Bay Bucks in a game like that, just not contribute at all when he had separation is awful. And then you brought up Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, 170 pounds. He's Worthy's 165, skinny, similar players. He lit up the Broncos in that game. And to me, if you try to put anybody else on D-Hop other than Surtain with his size and stuff, Hop's going to kill that matchup. And so it feels like they got to do that. But I just want to see some improvement on that connection and him being more of an impact to the game.
Last week, DeAndre Hopkins had more catches that were thrown at least 10 yards down the field than Xavier Worthy has on the season. He had 3 catches on 3 targets, DeAndre Hopkins did. Xavier Worthy this year, when targeted 10 yards or more down the field, has receptions on 2 of his 12 targets. That's according to Pro Football Focus. They are going to get this figured out. They were so close last week, man. That's 100% on Worthy. Worthy has to find a way to understand where he's at on the field. Remember the Mike Williams play for the Jets? That's basically what happened here with Xavier Worthy. He didn't realize where he was, didn't have his bearings about him, and drifted too far towards the sideline. I do believe that Xavier Worthy will get that figured out. I have optimism that it will happen for him. And when it clicks, dude, it's really the one element that we're missing from this offense. They are now finding the efficiency with DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce. They've got that. When Juju Smith-Schuster gets back, that's going to add one more element to the efficiency of the offense. You're seeing this running game work with Kareem Hunt. There's no explosive element to it, but that should return once they get Isaiah Pacheco back. The one thing you remain missing, and it's the element that they most wanted to incorporate this offseason when they added both Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown, is the deep shots. It's the ability to hit those big plays down the field. I think he's going to do it. I just refuse to believe that these two can't get on the same page for an entire 17-game season plus the postseason. I think, and I'd be willing to make this prediction today, Xavier Worthy will have multiple big plays in the postseason because they're going to get this thing figured out. I refuse to believe otherwise.
And Serda, I don't want to just put the blame on Worthy. Like we've been talking about it. Like something's off with Mahomes on these balls down the field. Now I'm not saying that one necessarily was on him, but like Justin Watson was wide, had beat his man on a go route, and that ball was just missed. So like I said, I think some of this is on Worthy. We got to be able to have. And by the way, flush that reverse, that slow developing reverse thing that got tackled for a 10-yard loss. We can go ahead and throw that out of the playbook. That one was not one that worked. But they just have to fix that. There are just too many big play opportunities they're leaving on the table each game, it seems like.
Yeah, and it is frustrating, and I think this is I think this is like over the last couple of years. Like it's just been so bad going deep down the field. It has messed up Patrick Mahomes' deep ball. Like he just seemingly can't find a way to hit those. But I think with Worthy, it just feels like he's obviously a rookie. He still has a lot of developing and a lot of growing to do. But I just feel like the Chiefs could do a little bit more to like just get him involved, like get him some easy touches, like not just, okay, we need you 40 yards down the field. Like go make that happen. Like, can we just get some design plays to get him in space and see if he can use his speed a little bit? I know that's what they tried to do with that reverse play, but like sometimes I actually want to see where they like get up to his top gear, because I feel like they haven't done enough to show that this season. Like, let's actually utilize the speed a little bit. Obviously, he's never going to be like a great tackle breaker. He's not going to be a contested catch guy. So you're hoping he can just win down the field and make a play 50 yards down the field. But can we just get him some easy touches to get him into space and see if he can just blow past some defenses the way the Lions do with Jamison Williams? Like, Xavier Worthy has that kind of speed, and I don't feel like the Chiefs have done much of that this season. I would like to see them do a lot more of that. And then hopefully the deep downfield stuff comes along with all of that once you build up his confidence a little bit.
Yeah, he's trending more to the Mecole Hardman like seasons where he's got 235 yards. That's I thought he would have more of an impact, especially off the first game of the year. All right, when the Broncos have the ball, again, for me, the Broncos, their offense is, they are one of the reasons why I hate this era of offensive football. When I watch Bo Nix go 19 for 21 or 22 for 107 yards passing, like that's the special they had. But I'll be honest with you, I would, disappointing would be a word. I was shocked that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to have the success that they had offensively in that game, especially when you look at the weapons they had on the field, BK.
I'm in agreement with you completely. I thought Liam Cohen put together an unbelievable game plan, man. He's the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he knew exactly where the weakness is in this Chiefs defense. And we all know it. We can say it out loud. You want the Chiefs linebackers running sideline to sideline. That's what you want them doing. You don't want them coming downhill. You don't want them just being able to drop back straight into a spot. You want them flowing sideline to sideline in pass coverage. And they attacked that, whether that was with running backs going towards the sideline, or if that was with tight ends, Kate Otten specifically, going down the seam. They found a way to attack that weak area. That is a way that they could win, because in part they didn't have any receivers they trusted. So the entire game plan for them could and should be about targeting their running backs and tight ends. What I'm going to be curious about going into this week is Sean Payton willing to do that? It's kind of like what the Chiefs used to get rope-a-doped into, where opposing defenses were like, all right, Andy, we're going to allow you to run here. It's going to be a light box on every single play. We don't believe you're going to stick with it. Now, this year, the Chiefs have. They've been committed to the running game, and I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. But is Sean Payton going to fully commit to featuring Javonte Williams in the passing game? Is he going to commit to featuring their tight ends? They've got like 3 of them, none of which are very good. Are they going to be willing to feature those guys in the passing game? My bet is no. Somebody will. I don't think this is the team to do it, though. I think the Bucs showed you a bit of a blueprint to beat this defense. Spags will have some answers as we continue along here, but screens, running back targets, tight end targets, those are the weaknesses right now for the Chiefs on this defense.
Yeah, I need a little bit more data before I go blueprint, like that this is a blueprint to beat the Chiefs defense, which I think is the best defense in football. But they gotta pick that up. I am
They're the worst team in the league at covering tight end so far this year. That part is.
They've had a couple of really big games. Isaiah Likely, Otten,
Bowers.
But I want to wait to see if this is like this can work. Like you can like this can be the blueprint, because I almost chalk it up, Serda, to like that's the first time. One, that's as you brought up Cohen. That's the first time I felt like Spags just got outdone in a long time, since maybe Matt LaFleur got him with the Packers. And this team, they just didn't seem to just be completely in sync. And somebody was off, Joshua Williams not doing their jobs at times. So I almost going to chalk this up to maybe the first time in a long time this defense didn't have 100% focus to play towards their standard that they have set. And when you combine that with a game plan, like you talked about, BK, even the runs, none of the runs seemed straight. It seemed like there was some sort of wrinkle or some sort of fake pitch somewhere that made linebackers have to move somewhere before they can attack. So I'm willing to chalk it up to like, hey, this team just had an off week before I say that maybe there's a blueprint on how to really get after the Chiefs defense.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that this is kind of the blueprint. I think we all know that. Like, I remember going on a Saints podcast before that matchup, and I was like, yeah, just target the hell out of Alvin Kamara out of the backfield, because that's the biggest mismatch that you can find against this Chiefs defense. And I agree with BK. I don't think it's going to be against the Broncos, but I do think that teams are starting to know, and maybe there is something to the secondary injuries and how much the Chiefs defense relies on communication on the back end to figure all of those things out. So there's still some chemistry to work through. Like, I don't think it's like a total Achilles heel, but it's obviously where offenses should try to beat the Chiefs defense.
Totally. And Ron, that's what I was going to get to is I agree with you. I don't think this is a long-term blueprint, but it is the weakness of the defense. And so if you're an opposing offensive coordinator, it's what you should be attacking. Like the Bills in 2 weeks, they should be targeting Dalton Kincaid at will. They should be targeting James Cook out of the backfield at will, and then adding in the running element that we all know they have with Josh Allen. Like that's the way that you can potentially beat this Chiefs defense. I don't know how long that will work. I think by the time you get to the postseason, Spags is going to come up with some kind of answers that eliminate that. And now you have to find a new game plan to be able to beat them. We've seen this in the past. The Chiefs previously, before this iteration of the defense, which is maybe the best run defense in the NFL, they were terrible against the run. And then you get to the playoffs and Spags would be like, nope, can't do that anymore. Here's my answer for it. He takes away the one thing that teams thought they could do against his defense. So I'm fully of the belief they'll figure this out and Spags will have an answer. I just think for right now and potentially for the rest of the regular season, it is the one real weakness that this defense has is those targets to tight ends especially, but running backs out of the backfield have also been a problem for them at times.
Yeah, maybe it's a deal of that's where you try to attack the Chiefs. I just don't know how successful, is this successful enough where you kill them? All right, sort of give me my music. Play a little game called Certified or Imposter. I make a statement. You say if this statement is certified or it's imposter. Here it is. My man, you brought him up. Boy, he's been running hard now. A big part of that second half, the Chiefs' comeback is Kareem Hunt. They say Pacheco could be back by the end of the month. Here it is. Certified or imposter. Even when Pacheco comes back healthy, Kareem Hunt is the better overall back for the Chiefs. Kareem Hunt is the better overall back. Certified or imposter, BK?
I think it's imposter. But he has a clear role on this team even after Pacheco returns. Pacheco adds another element to this running game, which is needed right now. Like last week was the first time that we had seen Kareem Hunt run for more than 15 yards on a play. He has no explosiveness whatsoever. I mean, here's his yards per carry over the last 4 games, Ron. 3.8, 3.6, 2.8, 3.9. It's been effective because he's getting the yards that you need. Like if you look at his success rate, it's astronomical because on seemingly every play he falls forward for an extra yard. So he's almost never getting hit at or near the line of scrimmage and falling down. It's always getting you positive yardage. And there's value in this offense to having a guy like that, but you also need some level of explosion, and they've been severely lacking it in the running game in recent weeks. So I'm going to say imposter because I think that you'll get that with Isaiah Pacheco, but they've been giving him 21 plus carries in each of the last 4 games since he became the full-time starter. Can you get a little bit more out of Kareem Hunt if he gets like 12 carries in a game and you give 15 of those to Isaiah Pacheco? I think that's ultimately where this lands. And I think Pacheco's still your number 1A guy, but it is nice to have a secondary option there that you can trust. Kareem Hunt doesn't fumble. He's a guy that is going to get you the yards that are necessary. So he's been a welcomed addition. But no, I don't think he's better necessarily than Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah. Certified or imposter, Steve?
I think I'm going to go imposter too, because like BK said, Kareem Hunt's been really efficient. And last week he did all of his damage in the second half of the game, which was awesome to see because he was actually ripping off some chunk gains. It wasn't all just 3-4 yard carries. Like he actually was running hard, but some of that was the Chiefs offensive line. and their run blocking. And so I just have to sit here and ask myself, like, a healthy Isaiah Pacheco, like, instead of Kareem Hunt getting 9 yards when the Chiefs offensive line is just blocking their asses off, like, if that's Isaiah Pacheco, does that turn into a 25-yard run? Does that turn into a 40-yard run? And I think he just brings more explosiveness. And then he was supposed to be way more involved in the passing game this year, and that just never got a chance to manifest. So I think it's still Isaiah Pacheco just because he can be a home run hitter for the offense.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think it is certified just because of the big play element. And even with, at times, his poor vision, he still has the ability to get, bigger plays. My wonder and concern with Kareem is he somebody, because I love, like, in my mind, you think about how effective those two can be together. But is he somebody that needs the carries to be this good? That's my concern, because what did he get? 20? He was well over 20.
27. Ron, here's a stat for you. He's had 27 carries in multiple games this season. The last time the Chiefs had a running back with 27 carries in a game was Kareem Hunt back in 2017. He did it twice that year. Kareem Hunt has 27 or more carries 4 times under Andy Reid. Every other running back that Andy Reid has had here in Kansas City has done so twice. And it was Niall Davis back in 2013 and 2014. He trusts Kareem to run in a way that he doesn't trust any other running back that he's had in his time here.
And it's clear, though, that he gets better as the game continues. Now, I don't know if that means he just gets better because he just gets more carries and he gets stronger, or he's wearing down the defense. Now, I do think Pacheco wears down. Those two can wear down the defense, and in the fourth quarter, he can still have those bigger runs, but he's become perfect to go with this choke the life out of a team. They always have these 6 to 8 minute drives in the second half, and his little 3 to 5 yards per carry to set up easy, third downs has been a big key. All right,
it's not the same, Ron, but it reminds me of like a watered down version of what Detroit could potentially have, where they've got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. It's different. Those guys are better. Both of them are better than the backs that you have, but the way that they utilize them, where one of them is more involved, Jahmyr, in the passing game, the other one, David Montgomery, is the guy that they give the ball to like wear teams down, lean on them at the end in the fourth quarter, and by the goal line, short yardage, those kinds of things. I think that could be the usage that you see with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco in Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm sure Andy and them have been thinking about how they incorporate both of them. All right, prediction time in this game. I'll kick it off. I got this one being listen, they scored 30 in the last game. It took overtime for them to get there. I am getting very excited about this offense. I do think they have good success in the red zone. I say they get there 3 times. I think they'll kick maybe a couple too. So I'll go 27-10. And I do think there's a bounce back performance from this defense. And I don't think there's a lot to hurt the Chiefs from the Denver's offense. So I'll go 27-10. Chiefs get to 9-0.
Yeah. I'm not totally sold that the Chiefs are actually going to show up. And I do think the Broncos defense is a little bit good, but I still think the Chiefs are going to easily win this game. I have no fear in Bo Nix in that offense. So I'm going to pick the Chiefs 24-13 on Sunday.
I was right there with you. The line is 9 points. That feels a little big for me. We just know how the Chiefs are. They're going to win by a score, even if it's 8 points, and that's what I've got them winning by. I've got 24-16. Chiefs end up winning this game. They keep them at arm's distance and end up winning. You don't feel like you're at threat potentially at any point in this game, but I think that's the way this thing goes. And then we get to talk about Buffalo, and that's really the game that gets us kicked off with where this season could potentially go.
What I hope is that, because we're all 3 of us, and I'm at the most with 27, we're all still cautiously down on this offense to produce the way
Some of that is also respect for the Broncos.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, they just gave up 41 to the Ravens. And I hope this is a week where we are like, okay, because I still think there's some PTSD. Like, Serda clearly has it in thinking that the Chiefs aren't going to show up for games. And
We always play bad against the Broncos, though. Like always, every year.
It's not every year. It's not every year they play bad against the Broncos. I mean, they had 8 straight before last year.
They've had just some bad games, like just some ugly performances.
But of course, and this team is different. And I wonder if this offense proves to us that they're different. All right, we are out.